I'm Fernando Amorsolo Lazo, and I'm the Vice President and Executive Director of the Fernando C. Amorsolo Art Foundation and co-authenticator of the works of Fernando Amorsolo. In today's episode of Cultural Cash Online, I will be talking about a work by national artist Fernando Amorsolo in the Cultural Center of the Philippines 21 AM collection titled Burning of Manila. Burning of Manila is Fernando Amorsolo's contribution to the collection of CCP and was exhibited during its grand opening. After Amorsolo, along with other artists, was invited to the Artist Night at Malacanang by then First Lady Imelda Marcos, as she shared her plans for the CCP. I recall having first seen this painting during my youthful years at a major exhibit in CCP. It was also around that time I learned about a spreading rumor that the painting was bad luck because of its dark theme, a depiction of destruction and conflagration. Burning of Manila is an oil painting on canvas, measuring around 70 by 100 centimeters, and dated 1942 on New Year's Day. This painting was based on a pencil sketch done by the artist on the spot. This is a scene inside Intramuros, along the Pasig River, with Fort Santiago in the distance. The first thing that catches attention is the pillar of smoke rising from the buildings on fire in the background. Baluarte de Santa Barbara, with a tower-like structure within the bulwark, is the building projecting out into the river, while the white squat building is the Intendencia, which then housed the customs and the finance offices. Another symbolic figure is the tilting boat in the river, signifying despair for the refugees stranded on the port side, having no means of immediate escape from the destruction. Like in a portrait where the artist devotes much of his or her time perfecting the face, especially the eyes of the subject, and which part of the painting eventually becomes the main focus that captivates the audience. Amorsolo had that same intention when he simulated the evasive gaseous giant pillar of black smoke into his canvas. That is an element in nature that we rarely get the chance to see, thus even difficult for us to conjure in our minds a perfect representation of its still form. And yet, Amorsolo was able to achieve it through strict discipline and passion for his work. Part of that discipline is a combination of a trained hand that can do quick sketches amidst a constantly changing environment, adopting a process of annotation in his sketches to remind him, for example, of the color of objects, and a photographic memory to assist him in last-minute decisions while continuing his work in oil at his studio. Amorsolo was at the height of his career in the early 1930s and well into the 40s. The onset of World War II in 1941 tested his resolve to continue painting. Indeed, he was able to, despite a heavy heart, with the atrocities he had witnessed during the war. He would spend long hours roaming the streets of Manila to document what was occurring around him by making rough pencil sketches and bocetos, or studies in oil. Once you have learned to appreciate the value of this painting as an important contribution to Philippine art, such as it documenting the historical facts of World War II, you can't help but think of how really devoted a man Amorsolo was in his profession. Also, it makes you wonder how many more pieces are there of similar theme or subject, like you wanted to read another chapter of an immersive book. Burning of Manila is counted among one of his masterpieces in his series of historical works, along with the paintings The Landing on Leyte, Ruins of Avenida Rizal, Ang Wakas ni Magellan, and the like. It is common knowledge that Amorsolo made versions of his paintings with original themes, especially scenes of planting rice, nude lavanderas, and more. And this he did as requested by his clients. The same can be said of Burning of Manila. There are only a few, at least 3 versions of the same subject, but one of the unique features of CCP's version is that the distant buildings with the lighthouse at the northern side of Pasig River are untouched by the ravages of war, a stark contrast to what was dismally transpiring at the southern side. There is another work in oil, a study work that is similarly annotated with the words New Year and dated 1942. Amorsolo's perspective in this other painting is entirely different, but has in its composition the same main subject, the smoke, and the presence of the Pasig River. The lack of detail in the subjects and the quick brush strokes are proof that Amorsolo had been drawing and painting as much as he could in different locations on that same day. When another earlier version of this painting, which was later entitled Bombing of the Intendencia, was given as a token to Director General Hayashi during the Japanese occupation of Manila, it was accompanied by a letter that explained the symbolisms of the painting, as well as introduced Fernando Amorsolo. I believe this triggered the incident told to us by my mother, Sylvia Amorsolo Lazo, about that time when her father was summoned by a Japanese officer, which made Amorsolo's family, who were left in Azcárraga, terrified and worried. Fortunately, he returned home later the same day, safe and sound, and with a story. He recounted to them that he was treated like a VIP and that he was summoned only to be relayed the message of regards and formal congratulations from a fellow artist, a Japanese who placed second in the New York's World Fair of 1939, where Fernando Amorsolo bagged the first prize by popular vote. Just my opinion, as I'm fond to think of this, that the creation of this painting, Burning of Manila, was born out of the luck that Amorsolo happened to have on New Year's Day of 1942, a day before the Japanese formally occupied Manila after their bombing raids. You see, his initial work in graphite on paper was done on the spot while standing on Jones Bridge. In war, one of the enemy's crucial targets are bridges to limit our troops' movement and to disable supply lines. Amorsolo must have braved this possibility to later walk away from the bridge unscathed and with a masterpiece in progress. Thank you for joining me in this episode of Cultural Cash Online.